Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Joke Rogers at Channels Television here in Lagos, and I'm joined by Vincent Macquarie from the Voice of America in Washington.
Well, thanks. I'm Vincent Macquarie at the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Channels Television in Lagos brings you that story.
President Muhammadu Buhari has commissioned a TPA fertilizer plant in the Lekki Free Zone area of Lagos State, southwest Nigeria. The Dangote fertilizer facility is estimated at a cost of $2.5 billion, and it's the biggest in Africa and second largest in the world. The new plant is expected to drive the country's desire for self-sufficiency in agriculture, ensure food security, create jobs, and accelerate economic growth.
It's a roll call of bigwigs in the political space, including state governors, party leaders, the President of the Senate, Speaker, House of Representatives, captains of industry, and an endless list of other distinguished guests who have come to witness history in the making. It is big, audacious, and it has to be him, Africa's richest man, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, putting Nigeria on the world map of economic recognition and influence. He's about to unveil a 3 million ton per year capacity urea fertilizer plant. The chief host is the first to speak. He reveals what this whole plant is about.
The new plant will make Nigeria self-sufficient in fertilizer production with excess capacity to export to other African markets and the rest of the world. Our products have already reached African markets and some to the United States, Brazil, India, and Mexico. It is an ambitious development. It is an ambitious developmental project which will drastically reduce the level of unemployment and youth restiveness in this country through generation of direct and indirect employment.
And then a floodgate of speeches.
This investment is again a glaring testament to the foresight and tireless efforts of Mr. President in encouraging domestic production of goods that can be produced in Nigeria, especially in agriculture.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is the plant's landlord, and he tells us how proud he is about the event.
The idea around having a free zone in the Bejuleki area was conceived by our leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I was with him in 2003, 2004, when we took a trip to China and we're trying to conceive a free zone. And today here, this free zone is not only home to the largest fertilizer in Africa, but will certainly be home to the largest refinery, a single refinery in the entire world, come later in this year. And so we're indeed very, very excited that our host community continues to remain home to all of these big projects.
After listening to all that has been said, the president mounts the rostrum to deliver his message, which precedes the commissioning of the massive facility.
This fertilizer plant is expected to further advance our administration's drive towards achieving self-sufficiency in food production in the country. I commend the chairman, board, and management of Dangote Industries Limited for their business initiative in capitalizing and building this plant to reduce our dependence on importation of fertilizer, create jobs on a massive scale, increase the inflow of foreign exchange, and accelerate economic growth.
Here are some of the things you should know about this plant. The Dangote fertilizer plant is the biggest in Africa and the second largest in the world.
Joining us to discuss this is an agripreneur and chairman, Southeast Farms and Agricultural Processing Company Limited, Dr. Nemeka Obiari. Glad to have you on our show today.
Thanks for having me.
So Russia is a big producer of fertilizer, but with the ongoing war against Ukraine and subsequent sanctions, there's disruption in supply from the country. Do you see the Dangote plant, which has just been recently commissioned, able to, bridge that deficit in supply, considering the fact that it's the second largest fertilizer plant in the world?
Yes, I'm so excited that Dangote refinery is coming on stream at this auspicious time in the history of Nigeria. Recall that we consume about 7 million metric tons of fertilizer annually in Nigeria, and with a consumption capacity of about 19.7 kilogram per hectare, which is way below the average consumption of about 3 kg for Sub-Saharan Africa per hectare, and even 29 kg for Ghana. And what Dangote has done, before Dangote came on stream, we were having about 1.2 million metric ton domestic production compared to 7 million metric ton demand. So what Dangote has done with the 3 million metric ton production at the first phase is to help cover up the domestic supply deficit. And we are very sure that by the time the second phase comes on stream, it's about 3 million metric ton per annum. And with what Notori is doing to ramp up their phase 2 of their domestic production, Nigeria will be in a better place to be able to cover the domestic supply gap and also help us to ramp up consumption to about 25 to 29 kg per hectare, which is the average, lower than the average in South Africa, and which will help the farmers domestically to be able to increase production of agro commodities, which will help us in a long way to reduce the over $11 billion that we spend annually importing agro commodities that we can grow here. It's a good and exciting time. I think Dangote has done great, to make sure that he bridges the gap. And what is happening between Russia and the Ukraine, yes, is going to also help the whole world to look at alternative markets. Russia cannot continue to hold the whole globe to ransom.
Right. So we do know about covering up local consumption, which is getting everybody excited, really. But with this crisis between Ukraine and Russia, and with the fact that many people were relying on countries like Russia to export fertilizer or to import in their own countries, do you think that in the nearest future, Dangote will also be supplying the world with its fertilizer?
What has happened has opened the eyes of the West, Europe, and America to discover that they cannot continue to depend on Russia for supply of gas, for supply of fertilizer. Remember that fertilizer production, urea and ammonia, is 98% dependent upon gas. Nigeria is a country that is blessed with bigger gas reserve than even crude oil reserve. And Dangote has come on stream. Notori has also come on stream. Between Dangote and Notori Chemicals Limited, the guys that purchased the former NAFCON on air, I am very sure within the next 2 to 3 years, they'll be able to cover the domestic supply gap and export to Europe, to America, and to South America. Because listen, the West will look for alternative supply of gas. The West will look for alternative supply of fertilizer. The West will also look for alternative supply of some of the agro commodities, wheat and whatever that comes from Russia and Ukraine. Nobody will want to depend on Russia for long. And it's I'm so excited to be a Nigerian at this particular time. Aliko has done well, Chito Okoloko of Notori has done well, and we also encourage other domestic investors with the deep pocket to go into that sector. We must sweat our gas sector, we must sweat our fertilizer sector, we must sweat our chemical sector. Nigeria is blessed, and Dangote is blazing the trail. Dangote has set the pace with Chito Okoloko of Notori. It is left for the fiscal managers, the federal government of Nigeria, the 36 state governors, and the 774 local government to provide us with security. And then you can see the catalytic effect of what Dangote has done. Thank you.
Right, so your excitement is definitely catching on. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Dr. Nemeka Obiari.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent Makori in Washington. Like in much of Africa, women in Kenya own only a small fraction of property, and less than 14% of Kenya's real estate brokers are women. Juma Majanga reports from Nairobi on the challenges women face in the real estate industry.
Kenya's real estate market has been booming for a decade, with more commercial and residential projects going up in urban centers. But despite the boom, women still face myriad of challenges trying to become property owners and builders.
I've sat in on some international development meetings where even just 2 weeks ago, where people that are international donors and international funders talking about affordable housing, and everyone at that table were men. Who's at the table talking about where $8 billion are going to go are all men. Now that's unacceptable.
Despite the challenges, more women are venturing into real estate development and finding success. Leah Wamboi quit her beverage selling business to become a real estate developer. Today, she has built over 200 homes in the Nairobi metropolitan area, though she and other women still face multiple challenges in this male-dominated business.
So you work with a contractor who feels that they should not expect to hear things from a woman, or there is a particular way that we've been doing things and this is how we do things. They think that you probably don't know because you're a woman.
Having built one of the leading construction materials manufacturing companies in Kenya over the past 2 decades, architect Winnie Ngumi understands too well the obstacles women face.
Even today, when I represent the company, say we are seeking a financial facility, we are trying to get a loan, I do face bias. It is almost as if I should have a man with me in the room when I'm negotiating for credit lines for the business.
A networking organization called Women in Real Estate, or WIRE, is working to help. Industry players say it will take time to come out of deeply rooted cultural and traditional beliefs in Kenya and across Africa that make it harder for women to thrive in many sectors. But advocates say women like Robin Emerson, Leah Wamboi and Winnie Ngumi show that change is coming. Juma Majanga for VOA News, Nairobi.
A group of Tunisian women have launched a small ecological bee farm, encouraging other women to engage in agricultural projects. The Queen Bees, as Shirley and her team are known, hope their Bee Treasure initiative can help more women gain access to the lands they need to start their own business ventures and succeed.
These are Tunisia's Queen Bees, ecological beekeepers who are also helping other women break into the field. Miriam Cherney quit her job in the oil sector to open a small ecological bee farm in 2016. She then founded the Bee Treasures initiative. It aims to bring marginalized and disadvantaged women together in the field of beekeeping and help them launch their businesses.
One of the prominent problems that I faced when I started my project was financing, because I'm a female farmer, still in my beginnings, and I do not own a land. So it was difficult to obtain money. I had to rely on myself. And the same ones who laughed at me then are now calling me for advice. And these are among the things that I'm proud of.
Sahad Mohammed is a Tunisian agricultural engineer and activist. She says just 4% of women own agricultural businesses or land in the country.
The small percentage of women who own agricultural projects is due to the fact that women do not own the land. People do not rent their land out to women. And secondly, in our culture, women's inheritance is half that of the man. And even if she takes her inheritance, she does not inherit the land. She does not inherit the olive trees, and she does not inherit the agricultural land.
For Faiza Hamdao, she encourages women to take part in agriculture.
We've established this initiative to help women in order to encourage them to become decision makers and to be able to start an agricultural project and succeed in it. Just because they are women, that doesn't mean they must stay at home. No, they can have successful businesses.
Cherney and her team hope their initiative can help more women gain access to the lands they need to start their own business ventures.
Chocolate makers are expected to raise prices this year due to the high cost of cocoa from exporters like Ivory Coast, now the world's largest cocoa producer. Ivorian cocoa farmers say they're being forced to raise prices because climate change is making it hard for them to grow their crops. Henry Wilkins reports from Adzope, Ivory Coast.
Hershey's, the largest producer of chocolate products in the United States, said last month it will raise prices of its products across the board due to the rising cost of ingredients. Demand for chocolate in America increased during COVID-19. Cocoa producers in Ivory Coast are struggling to keep up with that demand. Experts say one reason is the impact of climate change. Harvard University says that by 2030, parts of West Africa will be too hot and dry to adequately produce cocoa. The West African countries of Ghana and Ivory Coast alone produce 70% of the global supply. Cocoa farmer Raphael Conan Kowasi says trees are yielding less due to rising temperatures and poor rains.
First, almost all of the young plants die in the high season. If you've not been able to get water to them, you have no cocoa. Secondly, this has reduced the production of cocoa for those of us who farm it. Thirdly, the heat is so strong that also reduces production.
Kowasi receives government assistance in the form of cocoa trees, which are more resilient to the fluctuations of climate change, but says government distributions happen at the wrong time of year for the saplings to survive. One supplier of cocoa products in Ivory Coast, who supplies Hershey's, says higher prices for cocoa could be welcomed by farmers, however.
And my opinion is that these farmers should have better price, should earn more because they work hard, most are poor.
Her wish appears to be coming true. As climate change continues to bite, prices continue to surge. Henry Wilkins for VOA News at Adzope, Ivory Coast.
An Egyptian amputee is stopping at nothing to pursue his dreams in the field of soccer, despite an accident that caused him to lose his right leg when he was just 10. Now 26, Abdallah Mustafa says he's happy that he never allowed his disability douse his passion. Mustafa is a member of the Pyramid soccer team for amputees and wishes more football clubs in Egypt would follow suit to have a soccer league for talents like his.
Abdallah Mustafa was a 10-year-old football fanatic when he lost his leg in an accident. Now 26, Mustafa is proud that he never let his disability bring his soccer dreams to a halt. He is a member of the Pyramid soccer team for amputees and wishes more football clubs in Egypt would follow suit to have a soccer league for talents like his. For Mustafa, nothing is impossible. His injury left him depressed and at home for only 2 months, but he will pursue and follow his dreams. He joined his team 2 years ago and says he is happy to see more football clubs establishing teams for amputees.
Some people used to tell me that I'm wasting time, which was the only thing that annoyed me. Some people were encouraging me, and others said this will be difficult for me.
He narrates his incident and never stopped believing.
The accident happened when I was 10 years old. Before that, I used to love soccer and used to play with my friends. I was planning to join Zamalek Football Club because I'm a huge fan of Zamalek. When the accident took place in 2005, I never stopped. I only stayed for 2 months at home because I was very depressed. It was all new to me.
But he insists that criticism only pushes him forward.
I love a challenge. Whenever I hear an opinion that I don't like or something negative, I turn it into something positive. I work on myself more to be great.
Mustafa is always happy to see new team for amputees, and one of their goals is to have a league someday.
In Malawi, 2 years into the COVID-19 pandemic, only 7% of the population has been vaccinated against the coronavirus, one of the lowest rates in Africa. Now, village chiefs are trying to change that, urging people to take the jab from mobile vaccination clinics.
Public meetings and door-to-door campaigns are among the strategies village chiefs in Malawi, like John Sanganiza, are using to mobilize villagers to get vaccinated. Here the chiefs diffuse myths that link COVID-19 vaccine to infertility and allegations that the vaccine is the government's ploy to depopulate the country.
I gave them an example that there is a life-prolonging drug, ARVs. If the government wanted to reduce the population by killing people, it could have used ARVs. But now, many people are taking ARV, but they are not dying.
During the campaigns, chiefs accompany mobile vaccination clinics where villagers are voluntarily vaccinated against COVID-19. The effort started in July as part of a year-long program funded by the European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations.
I have long been refusing to get vaccinated because of what some people are saying, that vaccines will make me infertile. So as a lady, my fear was that I won't have children, but I have realized that this is not true because some ladies who are vaccinated are able to have children.
With a population of nearly 20 million, only 800,000 people in Malawi have received at least one dose of the vaccine, far short from the country's target of vaccinating 11 million people by December this year.
And also noticing that chiefs, their local leaders are also getting the jab right in the community. That is also a very powerful encouragement to the community members. So we have noticed a very big shift in terms of figures and the uptake in areas where we are supporting and running this project.
Malawi government health authorities held the project.
So we could see some people were coming in for the vaccination because of their chiefs, of the mobilization of the chiefs. So this also assisted us and it increased the uptake of the vaccine. Maybe it contributed to at least 15 to 20%.
Project implementers say some villagers shy away from the public meetings because they think they will be forced to get the jab. However, that challenge is overcome by a door-to-door campaign where elderly villagers are voluntarily vaccinated right at their doorstep. Lamek Masina for VOA News, Blantyre, Malawi.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent Makori in Washington. Channels Television has our last word from Lagos.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. To remember that channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Joka Rogers. Thanks for watching and goodbye.